Hello everyone, my name is Devansh and I'm the Google Summer of Code intern working at Ceph, and the project that I was chosen for was making Teuthology friendly. So I'll go through the agenda of today's presentation. So here are a few points that we'll go through. So first is the introduction of what Teuthology is and what are the other services that we have been working on, and then the problem with the actual command line interface of Teuthology and the solution that we thought of and how we have been implementing it and the features that me and Medhavi have worked upon, and the benefits of those solution and some future aspects for improvements as well. So I'll start with the introduction of what Teuthology is. So Teuthology is a testing framework for Ceph written in Python. So Teuthology is used for running tests of Ceph, and it orchestrates operations on remote hosts over SSH. So as you know that a typical job consists of multiple nested tasks, and each of which performs operations on a remote host server over the network. So Teuthology uses sorry. So these test results are stored in paddles and are available on Pulpito, which is a dashboard for running the tests, and the users who have scheduled the test can see the results as well. So I'll go through what Pulpito is right now. So Pulpito is a web dashboard that is used for monitoring the Teuthology test infrastructure, and it includes the tests, the queues, and the test nodes available. So as we all know that there are a lot of nodes available, and in order to schedule a test, you have to log the nodes and then SSH into the Teuthology, and then using the Teuthology suite or Teuthology run command, you can schedule multiple jobs or a single job. And it provides real-time information about the health and performance of the infrastructure, making it easier for the administrators to keep an eye on the system. And this helps to, quickly identify if there are any issues or if any test is failing, and then the team can take the appropriate actions to address them. So that's what Pulpito is used for. It is one of the services that I told you we have been working on. So what are the actual problems with the CLI? So as you know that in the Teuthology CLI, there are various commands along with a lot of flags, and it requires a bit of learning curve, and requires someone who is a veteran to actually schedule the jobs correctly. And for someone who's a new developer who's working on Ceph, it might be a little bit overwhelming to schedule jobs using Teuthology, because first you need to SSH into the server, then you have to lock nodes, and then you have to schedule jobs. So this can interrupt the productivity of the whole team. And also, the complexity of the Teuthology CLI can lead the new users scheduling bad runs that will hold up the queue and block other jobs, because the jobs will run one by one. So if uh, someone schedules a job wrongly, then it will hold up the whole queue until they actually kill the job. So that's one of the problem. So I'll discuss some more problems ahead. So as I said in the previous slide, that the commands often require users to understand and input complex command line syntax, including various flags, options, and arguments, which can be overwhelming for new users. Like there are some options that might repeat, and you'll have to enter them every time you're using the CLI. So that is one of the problems, and user might struggle to discover available commands options and their meaning, leading to frustration and difficulty in effectively utilizing Teuthology's capabilities. So there are some options that aren't documented, very properly, and they don't have much information about them. So someone who's new to testing using Teuthology, they might face difficulty, and they'll have to ask someone who has been using Teuthology for a long time to schedule a simple job. And users often need to manually configure a wide range of parameters, such as the repository URLs, branch names, and suite options, which can even lead to errors due to typos or misconfigurations. Because typos are very common, and it is a human error because it can happen to anyone. So we can overcome these problems by the implementation that we have been working on. So what is the solution that we have been working on. So the solution is a next generation Pulpito. So what it actually is, the current Pulpito provides a dashboard for the test results along with some more information about the nodes and all. But in the next generation of Pulpito that we have been working on, it will provide a improved user experience compared to the current Pulpito, because it will provide a more intuitive user interface, making it easier for the admins and developers to navigate, configure, and monitor Teuthology tests. And one of the main feature of this next gen of Pulpito would be to allow the users to schedule and kill jobs using the dashboard, which will enhance the productivity and make the working of a Teuthology a joy for both veterans and the for seasonal professions and someone who's newly working on it. So I'll go ahead with the implementation. So we had made an API for Teuthology, and we have integrated it with the Pulpito Next Gen so that the users can directly schedule or kill jobs without actually SSHing into the Teuthology server, just by interacting with the user interface. And the main features that we have been working on in the new Pulpito were the GitHub authentication, scheduling jobs, which is the part that is done by Medhavi, and killing jobs was feature that was implemented by me. So I'll now go ahead and show a small demo for the same. So right now I'm running a container for all the services like Pulpito, Teuthology API, and Paddles. So here you can see the next generation of Pulpito that we have been working on. Here you can see my GitHub username as I have authenticated using my account. So here you can see that. And right now, no runs have been scheduled. So we are going to schedule a run using the feature that was implemented by Medhavi. So as you can see here, we have a table with two columns, key and value, which actually represents the flags and the flag options that are set by the actual command. So here you can see a text area which will represent the actual CLI command. So this is for the professionals who have been using the Teuthology CLI for a long time, so that they can check that this is the command that they actually wanted or not. So this is a functionality just for that. So I'll go ahead and schedule a sample run for you all so that you can see that how it actually works. So as I said that in my previous slide, that there are some things that you have to set every time, just like the Ceph repo and the suit repo. And most of the times it's just the same thing, but you'll have to write it over and over. So here we have some default values for it so that you don't have to write it every time. And here the checkbox, using the checkboxes, you can add the flags that you want, and you can even delete them. So I'll delete this and add a row for the suit that we want to run. So for that, I'll choose the repo option, and there's a dummy suit. So we are going to run that. So here you can see we have two buttons. One is for a run and one is for a dry run. So we are going to use the run button right now. So as this feature is in implementation right now, I'm going to show you the logs of the Docker container. So here you can see that the Teuthology API is actually scheduling the job now, because once we click the button, it took all the flags and options and it sent it over to the Teuthology API. And the Teuthology API was made by Vallari. Kudos to her. And while this is scheduling the job, I'll let you know about the GitHub authentication. So in order to schedule or kill a job, you need to be authenticated using GitHub and be a member of the Ceph organization. Because if you're not a member and if you're not logged in, you won't be able to schedule or kill a job. And for killing a job, only the person who has scheduled a job and an admin can kill a job. So this is where the authentication came in. So as you can see in the logs that the job has now been scheduled. So we'll go over the runs and see whether we can see the scheduled job or not. So as you can see, the job we just scheduled shows up here. We use the dummy suit on the main branch. And as we are running a Docker container, it's on the test node. So we'll see more information about this job that was just scheduled. All right. So you can see that currently it's queued, and this is the feature that I have been working on. So this button would kill all the jobs in the current scheduled run. So in future, we were thinking to add kill buttons for individual jobs. Right now, I'm working on it, but in this current demo, I'll show you how to kill the whole job at once. So once you click on the kill button, it will send the request to the Teuthology API once again, and it will wait for it to complete. If it gets a 200 status code, it will say that the run has been killed successfully. Otherwise, it will show that there was an error with the run, and you can go through the logs and see what was the actual error. So this was the demo that we have been working on, and these features aren't complete right now, but we are just a bit away from actually completing them and then pushing it to production. So these were the three features that I told you about, and we saw the demo. So what are the benefits of this solution? So through a user interface for scheduling and killing jobs, as I said before, the developers won't have to SSH every time and write the whole commands. They can just use the interfaces and the table and columns for easier scheduling of jobs, and it will be also productive for the teams in the long run, as they won't have to write all the commands. And in the scheduling page, there is also an option to save the configuration, so that the user if a user has a config that they use most of the times, they won't have to write it again. It will be stored in the local storage, and they can fetch it from there and schedule a job using that same configuration. So this is the benefit of the solution that we have implemented. Other than that, we have some future aspects as well. So first was the paddles we write using Fast API. So as we know that paddles currently uses Pecan, which is an unmaintained framework. And so we thought that we could write it in Fast API, because Fast API has a big community and it has a lot of built-in features. And it also had type annotations and all, so that we can make a code a bit better rather than just being dynamic Python. Other than that, we also can work more upon the user experience of Pulpito NextGen by making it visually easier to schedule a job. Like currently, you saw that the table wasn't that visually pleasing, so we can work a bit more on it so that it's a bit better, is what I'm trying to say. And other than that, we can add more user-centered features on Pulpito Next Gen. So what I was thinking was we can add options for users so that they can see their current jobs and the scheduled jobs and their past scheduled jobs, so that they don't have to go down the queue every time to see what jobs they have scheduled. And this will make it easier for them to see the results of the jobs. And if they want to kill, they can directly kill it. So that was it for the presentation. And we did experience a lot of problems during these implementations, but I'd like to thank our mentors, Zach, Ashwarya, and Junior, who helped us throughout whenever we needed their help. And it was a great time working for Ceph, and I'll keep contributing to it because it's a great project and I really like to work on it. And that was it from my sides, and it's a Q&A time, so if anyone has any questions, I'm open for them.
Great job. I really like the way the UI is looking, and it looks a lot more user friendly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really good job. I thought that was a super informative talk. I guess a question for you is, do you have any? Was there like was there a biggest challenge that you could name through this work?
Okay, so one of the biggest challenges that we faced recently was actually connecting the backend with the front end, because we were having some issues with the cookies that were set by the Teuthology API. So we had to figure that out, that how to actually send back the cookies in the requests. So we did take some help from Vallari and we figured it out.
Oh, excellent.
Any other questions?
Can you I know you said this, but can you explain again where we would go to find the logs of a scheduled run to see if or if there was an error to help us like report any bugs that might come up?
Yes, so right now, like in our current implementation, like we were running on a Docker container. So to see if there was any error, we had to open up the container. But in the future, what we were thinking is that we could show the error log in like a new page that if the run fails, it would show up a link that would redirect you to a page where you can actually see the logs of the Teuthology that it returns.
Okay, great. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.
And I think in the future, the scheduling page, I think we would have a separate section to see the logs for sketching. So you don't, because I know in the presentation, Devansh has to switch to the containers log to see what is actually happening on the Teuthology side of things. So in the future, I think that screen will be integrated to its scheduled page.
Yeah, a log screen can be integrated so that even the user can see the actual logs that have been printed by Teuthology.
Yep. So they would know what is
Yeah,
actually happening.
exactly.
And if we want to get even if we wanted to get fancy with an idea like that, we could even look at having Teuthology produce something more structured, say in the context of Teuthology API, so that we could grab a JSON blob and use that to render a UI that sort of shows a more like a kind of a nicer way to expose an error
That
rather
also
than just
sounds
reading
like a
through.
nice idea.
Yeah,
We
it'd
can
be,
use a JSON to render a UI so that the user doesn't have to go through the logs to point out what the actual error was.
exactly.
And I think we also explored some kind of like saving commands that are regularly used. So, for example,
Yeah,
for people like Yuri, who have commands for different branches for releases, yeah, you can save those commands, store it in like a. For now, we were thinking local cache, but ideally, I think like we can store it in some kind of database, an actual database. But yeah, that's also another thing we explored.
yeah. So as I said in the presentation, that the current implementation uses the local storage for storing the configurations that are used multiple times by a user. So in the future, we could use a database such as PostgreSQL to store it.
Yeah, I really like that idea. There's a lot of commands that I just reuse by looking back in my history, and I just
Yeah.
copy whatever command in my history. So that'd be great.
Yeah, and I think Laura, since you and I are doing like reviews on runs regularly, I think it's also we should also kind of explore what kind of features we can add to LPO Next Gen to make reviewing runs easier. I think that's another use case that we might want to explore in the future.
Absolutely. And Zach told me about this issue page for the
Yeah, I think C accidentally closed the tab. That happens to me too.
sorry about that. I was going to point to this link here. But for some reason, it's not letting me link it. But anyway, the chat box isn't working for me. But I was looking in the Pulpito-NG Ceph repository under the issues page. You'd recommend that we raise issues in that place from now on.
Yeah, you can raise issues in the Pulpito NG repository, and we'll figure it out how to actually implement it or how to debug it.
Cool.
Yeah, if it's like a UI thing, yeah, I think that's worth. But also, obviously, you have a tracker. It's also good. Yeah. I think tracker is more for, let's say, like tautology problem rather than interface.
Really great job. Really good presentation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay, I think you guys did a great job. Thank you so much, Medhavi and Devansh.
Thank you everyone for joining and listening to the presentation. And let us know if you had any, further feedbacks, and we'll try to work upon it.
Sounds great.
Yep. Good job, guys.
Thank you.